So again, we'll deal with both types of 501c3 organizations. What are the annual reporting requirements for 501c3s, private foundations, and public charities being the two main types? Private foundations are subject to a different set of rules from a reporting standpoint than a 501c3 public charity. A private foundation files a return called the 990-PF, IRS 990-PF. You can find it online. In addition, the IRS publishes instructions every year on the 990-PF, so these instructions help sort of elucidate the actual reporting document itself. And then for a public charity, there's a form called the 990, again, an IRS form found online with the instructions, and that form is filled out by the public charity. For the private foundations and public charities, the distinctions between the forms are significant, such that if you are having somebody prepare these returns for you, I would highly recommend that you identify individuals that have done these returns over and over again. Whether you're a private foundation, you want a CPA who's prepared these many times over, because there's a lot of subtlety and nuances to these, and you don't want to get it wrong because it may subject you to further scrutiny by the IRS, and the same for a 990. You want a charity CPA that's done many of these over and over again. And simply through good interviewing process, you'll be able to identify those individuals that can do that for you. The cost of preparation on really straightforward organizations can be as cheap as $1,000 up to $10,000, and then of course much higher if it gets much bigger. Interestingly, for a public charity, there's some modified reporting for organizations that are smaller, and depending upon how small, for an organization that receives less than, I believe, $50,000 currently, you can file a form called the 990 postcard, which is simply an electronic form online. There's 4 or 5 pieces of information that you input into this electronic platform that the IRS has created, and you literally push a button and the form's filed for you. If it's a little bigger than that, but I believe under $250,000, you can file something called the 990 EZ. This is more complicated than the 990 postcard, but less complicated than 990. And that will generally be sufficient for those organizations. You can always file the 990, by the way, but you have these opportunities to utilize some shortened procedures for the filing themselves. So that's something to be aware of on the public charity side. For private foundations, you absolutely cannot file the 990 postcard. You can't use a 990 PF EZ. There's one form. It's the 990 PF, and you got to use it. Okay, so that's that. Now, that's on the federal level. Now, also on the state level, this is why charities are complex organizations. Charities exist in state by state law. You have state forms that you need to file, which include tax returns, just like you would file for a regular corporation, but these are for the state tax exempt return. And in addition, there are I believe at least 39 jurisdictions that have a report that needs to be filed, a financial report to the Attorney General in your domiciled state in which you exist. You, for the most part, have at least 3 forms that you have to comply with on a yearly basis. Those forms are filed by the 5th month, 15th day of the close of the accounting year of the 501c3. In addition, every organization should have at least 1 annual meeting of its board members, and you should reflect those in what they call corporate minutes, and those corporate minutes should be held in your what you call your corporate minute book. And then there may be potentially other states. If you're doing business in more than one state, you might have requirements to file these attorney general reports in these additional states that you're doing business. So, just to really, assess and to appreciate, there are a lot of compliance requirements. And, if you're new to the area, you haven't, sort of been around the nonprofit ecosystem a lot, make sure that you connect with people that are really familiar with these things, because you don't want to run afoul of the rules. failure to file 3 years in a row, for example, of the postcard, your status will get revoked, which means that you'd have to go through what they call the reinstatement process, which is literally like starting all over again, but probably even a little bit more painful than that. So knowing what you don't know, or knowing people that know what you don't know, becomes invaluable.